Grand Rising and welcome to another segment of CLG Viewpoint. I hope you had an amazing weekend. I sure did. Went and watched a baseball game yesterday and it was a lot of fun. So my grandson hit it right out of the park. Anyways, today is Monday, March 31st, 2025, and we will be covering a video on incubating eggs to hatch chicks, how to make a homemade incubator. International news, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia arrests 25,532 illegals in 1 week. U.S. State Department moves to formally dismantle U.S. aid. Local news, not science fiction. BC company touts big milestone in fusion power generation. Largest ever Fisheries Act penalty will pay for First Nations-led Elk Valley recovery. Supervised consumption site in central Alberta with close its Red Deer location. And Healthcare Canada finds more animal tranquilizers, yes, animal tranquilizers, in illicit drugs. And now all low entities or low energies here, I send them out. Only divine love and divine light is allowed here, and so it is. Thank you. Now on to the video on incubating eggs. Aren't they so sweet? We are going to try that here at the farm. We're going to make ourselves an incubator, and we have chickens and a rooster. So we'll hope it works for us as well as it did for these beautiful people on that video. Now on to international news. Arab News, March the 29th, 2025. Kingdom arrests 25,362 illegals in 1 week. Saudi authorities arrested 25,362 people in 1 week for breaching residency, work, and border security regulations, the Saudi press agency reported on Saturday. A total of 18,504 people were arrested for violations of residency laws, while 4,004 were held over illegal border crossing attempts, and a further 2,854 for labor-related issues. The report showed that among the 1,533 people arrested for trying to enter the kingdom illegally, 65% were Ethiopian, 30% Yemeni, and 5% were of other nationalities. A further 62 people were caught trying to cross into neighboring countries, and 9 were held for involvement in transporting and harboring violators, the SPA reported. The Ministry of Interior said that anyone found to be facilitating illegal entry to the kingdom, including providing transportation and shelter, could face imprisonment for a maximum of 15 years, a fine of up to SRA 1 million, which is $260,000 US, as well as confiscation of vehicles and property. My personal thoughts. Under natural law, all immigrants are being sent back to their homeland. U.S. State Department moves to formally dismantle U.S. aid. RT News, March 29, 2025. All remaining staff are reportedly receiving notices of imminent elimination. The U.S. State Department has formally notified Congress of its intent to undertake a reorganization that would effectively dissolve the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, Washington's primary funding channel for political projects abroad. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced on Friday that while foreign assistance can serve national interests, the high costs and limited benefits associated with USAID-backed programs had prompted the decision to eliminate the majority of its initiatives. Unfortunately, USAID strayed from its original mission long ago. Thanks to President Trump, this misguided and fiscally irresponsible era is now over. We are reorientating our foreign assistance programs to align directly with what is best for the United States and our citizens, Rubio said. Rubio promised that truly essential life-saving programs aligned with the administration's America First priorities would be absorbed and carried on by the State Department, while the rest would be discontinued by July 1st, 2025. President Donald Trump launched the process of dismantling U.S. aid shortly after taking office in January. Since then, thousands of employees have been fired or placed on leave, and billions of dollars in aid contracts have been frozen or canceled altogether as part of Trump's broader federal waste-cutting initiative led by the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. The remaining staff were reportedly notified on Friday that all non-statutory positions at USAID will be eliminated, and that they would soon receive a termination date either July 1st or September the 2nd. A memo from Jeremy Lewin, the DOGE staffer turned deputy administrator of USAID, also warned personnel that they would not be automatically transferred to the State Department without a separate and independent hiring process. The move to dismantle U.S. aid and transfer its remnants to the State Department has faced legal challenges, including a temporary freeze imposed by a federal judge last week. However, on Friday, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit ruled that DOGE had acted within its authority in reviewing and restructuring foreign aid programs. The court rejected arguments that the executive branch had overstepped its bounds by altering a congressionally authorized agency, stating that Congress had not explicitly barred such reorganization. Trump had previously accused the organization of being run by radical lunatics and facilitating corruption at levels rarely seen before. His federal government efficiency czar Elon Musk referred to U.S. aid as a criminal organization and claimed that it had funded bioweapons research, among scores of other controversial programs. The revelations about U.S. aid's links to secretive initiatives and financing radical elements throughout the world validate concerns long expressed by Russia, Moscow's ambassador to the UN. Other foreign leaders have also questioned U.S. aid's role in their domestic affairs. Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico voiced concerns over that he described as potential gross interference in his country's political landscape. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban similarly emphasized the need to eliminate these foreign networks that interfere in domestic politics. Personal thoughts. Looks like a worldwide cleanup, bringing back fiscal responsibility and the elimination of corrupt and controversial programs, as Elon Musk referred to U.S. aid as a criminal organization. What do you think? Now, on to local news. Not science fiction, BC company touts big milestones in fusion generation. Global news, written by Simon Little and Aaron MacArthur, March the 28th, 2025. It's the so-called holy grail of clean energy production, fusion power. Fusion reactions are the same source that power stars, where hydrogen atoms smash and fuse together into helium, creating a massive blast of energy. Harnessing that power for use on Earth has long been a dream of scientists and engineers. And one BC company says it's taken a major step towards achieving the goal. Richmond-based General Fusion has been working on the technology for 16 years. Last month, it achieved a major milestone in the work by successfully forming a magnetized plasma inside its proof of concept machine known as LM26. A massive device that looks like it belongs in the engine room of the Starship Enterprise. This machine will demonstrate some results that, after those results are achieved, it's very sure we can build a power plant out of it. Chief Science Officer and Founder Michael Laberge said, "For a long time, people have thought that fusion is simply science fiction," added CEO Greg Twinney. "We have been doing the work to prove otherwise. The machine works by forming a hollow cavity inside a blob of magnetized liquid metal. Plasma is then injected into the cavity. That's what the science says they've now achieved. The science fiction stuff comes next. The machine is designed to then compress that plasma-filled magnetized liquid blob smaller and smaller. At a certain point, that intense heat pressure will trigger a fusion reaction, firing out neutrons that will superheat the liquid metal. Like in a fission nuclear reactor, that heat would be used to create steam and power a turbine generating electricity. The company is hoping to achieve plasma compression within weeks. It's the next best thing we need to demonstrate, said Senior Vice President of Technology Development Michael Donaldson. When we demonstrate that, we know the path to the power plant after that. The company aims to demonstrate fusion in a series of milestone tests. First, at a heat of 10 million degrees Celsius, which is 1 keV. Then at 100 million C, which is 10 keV. And eventually at scientific break-even, the point when the reaction creates more energy than is needed to initiate and sustain it. Will it work? The higher the target, the more difficult it will be, LeBerge said. General Fusion is optimistic. It can hit the 10 keV milestone by the end of 2026. And on to the video.
It's all hands on deck. Everyone working flat out to be ready for the next shot. At General Fusion, the goal is one step closer to reality.
The prize is so big, right? Like, the prize is so massive.
The Richmond-based company has its sights set on creating unlimited energy forever. No radioactive waste, no greenhouse gas emissions, no destruction of the environment. This startup working out of a warehouse at the airport, hitting a major milestone. Earlier this year, the experimental test machine known as LM26 produced magnetized plasma for the first time, an achievement that forced other fusion researchers around the world to sit up and take notice.
We need to continue to be bold. This is Canada's chance to take a leadership role in commercializing fusion. It's a massive opportunity.
General Fusion has an advantage on some of its larger and better funded competitors.
And used to make steam.
The idea for the power plant, much further along in its development. Expert consensus says the technology is viable at scale. What General Fusion is lacking is the front-end science. The company still has to prove it can reach temperatures and pressures needed to achieve fusion. Now that the machine can routinely make plasma, the next step is to inject it into a lithium container and compress it to meet the fusion threshold.
The higher the performance that you're trying to achieve, the higher the difficulty. Like, we have to do those experiments because we are not 100% sure this is going to work.
The startup has been at this for nearly 2 decades. What was originally 2 people has grown to a company of 120 employees with deep ties to local universities and manufacturers. It's been a long road of progress and setbacks, but General Fusion on the cusp of creating something that could change the world. Aaron McCarthy, Global News.
My personal thoughts. At one time, fusion power was thought of as a science fiction. How many other ideas that have been thought of as science fiction is but truths? We are moving quick, fast, in a hurry to reach free energy. Exciting times. Largest ever Fisheries Act penalty will pay for First Nations-led Elk Valley recovery, the Canadian Press. A restoration project is underway in southeastern BC to repair ecosystems extensively damaged by coal mining, using funds from the largest pollution penalty ever imposed under the Fisheries Act. Led by a partnership between the Canadian government and the Tunaksa Nation. The $58 million cleanup of Elk Valley in the Kootenay region will come from a fine imposed on Teck Coal Limited, the company responsible for most of the area's coal mining. The $16 million fine against Teck was turned over to the federal government's Environmental Damages Fund. This is the first time the federal department has worked with an Indigenous partner to develop an allocation strategy for the fund. The collaboration is a significant and essential step in addressing the historical and current damage caused by coal mining in the Elk Valley. It's really important to invest that fine back into creating systems, practices, research, and initiatives to correct what has been done, or at the least mitigate and find solutions to work towards healthier waterways, said Chief Heidi Gravel. Mining operations released harmful substances, primarily selenium and calcite, into the Elk Valley watershed, killing fish and causing lasting damage to their habitat. The population of threatened West Slope cutthroat trout in a river below the mine dropped by 93% between 2017 and 2019. The following year, 90% of the species' adult trout in a 60-kilometer stretch of the upper fording river were gone. The Tunaxa Nation Council, which represents 4 Tunaxa First Nations, will be leading the restoration projects. They will fund efforts to protect native fish habitats, including those of the West Slope cutthroat trout, bull trout, and burbot, restore aquatic and riparian habitats, study contaminants like selenium, and assess the impacts of the climate change and water management using hydrological assessments of the Elk River. They will also collaborate with groups like the Elk River Alliance on restoration work. Despite billions invested since 2013 to mitigate the damage, the Elk Valley environmental crisis remains dire. Water treatment facilities can now treat 77.5 million liters per day and remove 95 to 99% of selenium from the water. But it's not enough. A report says at least $6.4 billion is needed to reverse rising selenium levels in affected waterways. The mines were originally owned by Teck and are still in operation today, under the ownership of Glencore, a Swiss mining company that acquired the remaining stake last year. A critical element missing from previous environmental restoration efforts have been the inclusion of First Nations cultural knowledge in the decision-making process, Gravel noted. There's that fine line between a superficial checkbox of what is reconciliation and what is First Nations involvement. Is it just meeting and making us aware, or is it true inclusion? She said. Well, my personal thoughts. Because of the billions of dollars that have been invested since 2013, my personal suggestion is a full forensic audit should be done, making sure that all financial records and spending practices are in order before any more money is being released and allocated for this project. And more thorough investigation on the current effect that selenium and calcite are having on the fish and its habitat. What do you think? The inclusion of First Nations and all people of Canada are as one, united. There is no divide amongst people under natural law. All nationalists, all people are equal. The only supervised consumption site in central Alberta will close its Red Deer location after a court injunction to keep it open was turned down. CBC reporter Sam Sampson explains the decision and the push to keep it open. And on to the video.
This supervised consumption site in Red Deer is the only one in the region. The province announced last fall it would cut funding and shut it down by spring. One man who uses the site hired a lawyer and says shutting it down would go against his charter rights. The man, Aaron Brown, says stopping the service would force him to use potentially unsafe street-sourced drugs. He wanted to keep the site open until June, when a full hearing on the service's fate could happen. But this week, an Alberta Court of King's Bench judge decided against that, saying it's not likely Brown would suffer irreparable harm if the site was closed.
What I've heard is that there's a deep sense of disappointment The number of overdoses in Red Deer exceeds the provincial average, and the provincial average already exceeds the national average. So what are we really doing to help folks in need?
The province says the site will be replaced with recovery-focused services, like more detox beds and a team of paramedics to help reverse overdoses as they happen.
This is a huge suite of recovery-oriented, life-affirming care that will not facilitate addiction. It will not increase and produce harm. It will truly help those who are suffering from addiction get out of it.
Alberta Addictions Minister Dan Williams also said this week he would shut down Calgary's only supervised consumption site if City Council passed a motion for him to do so. This is all happening as an Ontario judge decided to keep similar sites open in that province, as he considers a charter challenge against a provincial law that bans these sites from operating within 200 meters of schools or daycares. Some doctors say they'd like to see more nuance in addictions treatment across Canada.
We need to have a balanced approach for both, and there's, again, no separation between recovery and harm reduction. They are one and the same. It's pathway to harm reduction is a pathway to recovery. I know that recovery often doesn't always persist. People will relapse and they will require harm reduction.
Monday is the last day people in Red Deer can access the supervised consumption site. After that, it's expected to shut down. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Edmonton.
My personal thoughts. The deaths have risen in these consumption sites. Yes, I concur that they need to be taken down. Under natural law, could these be the first initial steps of implementing the I Am Cured program? The funding is there under natural law. Health Canada finds more animal tranquilizers in illicit drugs. Yes, animal tranquilizers in illicit drugs. A potent animal tranquilizer is making its way into Canadian street drugs at an exponential rate. And on to the video.
Medetomidine is a tranquilizer used to sedate animals, only approved for veterinarians. But now it's showing up in Canadian street drugs, first detected in 2022 with 6 cases. The latest numbers provided to CTV News from Health Canada show medetomidine identified more than 1,200 times in illicit drugs.
It creates an extra level of overdose response because it doesn't respond to naloxone.
So why are suppliers adding sedatives to fentanyl?
Because there's a perception that it makes the high better. It actually leads to a lot more deaths and harm.
Just before Christmas, RCMP in Newfoundland found medetomidine mixed with fentanyl, calling it an extremely lethal combination, showing up as a blue powder, a trend in recent drug busts, fentanyl appearing in bright colors. Public health researcher Jillian Cola says it's a way for sellers to distinguish fentanyl from other white powder drugs.
So, for example, it was to prevent somebody who wanted to buy crystal methamphetamine from accidentally buying fentanyl. So you dye the fentanyl bright blue, bright purple, bright pink.
Saskatoon's police chief says the colors may represent different sellers.
There is, I hear, some signature to it, the addition of colors to represent, a particular person or group.
The Canadian Centre on Substance Use and Addiction says there's been a shift from plant-based to synthetic-made drugs with more local production.
These chemicals that go into drug making are unfortunately quite easy to get.
So why would drug suppliers kill their clients?
When we're dealing with people who don't have a lot of experience with this, don't know exactly what they're doing, it's really easy to make the wrong batch that kills a lot more people.
They do not care. It's quick money. It's all about the money. They do not care about people whatsoever.
The police chief says testing is crucial so emergency crews can know what's in the drugs to properly respond in a situation where every second counts. Laura Woodward, CTV News, Saskatoon.
My personal thoughts. It's actually horrible that they're mixing animal tranquilizers with illicit drugs. All for money. Under natural law, all drugs will be taken off the streets. The peace officers are working diligently, quick, fast and a hurry to make this happen. And so it is. I am Cindy Lorraine Grais at CLG View Point, and I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being here today. If you feel compelled to, please share this forum. And now we have a video, Moji and his wisdom. Amazing, amazing man. Have a truly wonderful day and see you tomorrow, Tuesday, April 1st, 2025. Until we meet again. Thank you.
You are here. The mind wants you to be here, to be there. But you're here. What is it that's here? It has no form. It is not the body that is here. Because you are here, the body is here. It's not because the body is here, you are here. It's because you are here, the body is here. And everything else is here. Okay? So you must confirm this. You, consciousness. Consciousness in its dynamic expression as the pure presence or the sense I am. Watch this feeling I am in you. Don't give it to the mind because the mind will convert it into a person. It is not a person. It is the presence of God. And if you hold to this, what you have seen, not teaching, I'm not teaching you and learn, I'm pointing you so you discover. You are here.